Hi everyone, my name is Seth. I write fantasy and science fiction under the pen name S.B. Sebrick. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk a little bit about how traditional publishing works. I'm going to be doing another video later in the week on independent publishing. I'm looking to educate writers who are just starting out, who have their first story, and they aren't quite sure which way they want to go, whether they want to focus on traditional press or doing stuff themselves. So this is just going to be a general overview of how traditional publishing works so writers can make an informed decision. It's important to note here, I'm talking about the big five, the major traditional publishers out in New York City. You have to be careful when you're looking to get your work published because it's easy to stumble across a very small press that talks big and sounds great and they're willing to publish your work, but they don't have the clout of the big five. That means that when their catalog goes out to distributors, they have a couple hundred interested readers instead of a couple 100,000. For example, if you're dealing with a small press, if they do not offer an advance in payment for getting the copyright to promote your work, if they are just offering to put your work on the market for free, or especially if they want your money in order to put your stuff on the market, those are big signs that you're dealing with small press publishers or possibly even a scam. The big five will never take your money in order to publish your work. You are the writer, you are the creator of the content. They are buying your copyright and you should be paid for your efforts if you're dealing with one of those big five publishers. If you've been approached by a small press that is offering to, for free or for a small fee, to publish your stuff to Amazon or to paperback or to electronic, you need to be aware that just putting your work on the market is something that you can easily do yourself now, and you can keep all of the royalties for yourself. I had a friend of mine who was working with a small press, and she had a book that she'd written. It was a military romance. She just wanted, 10, 20 paperback copies to go to some friends. She wasn't looking for anything really, she wasn't trying to take the world by storm with this novel and make all this money. But this small press that she was working with kept offering her, like, well, for $200 or for only $150, you pay us that and we'll make your book available on Amazon. And we'll make it available in ebook on Nook Press and Kobo and all these other venues. You just have to pay us a couple $100 or $150. So I sat down with her, and in 10 minutes I showed her how to upload her own work to Amazon for free, and she got to keep 70% of her royalties. The small press was only offering her 20% royalties. For those of you that are new to that term, royalties is a share of profit that you get for a sold good. For example, in my friend's case, this small press wanted to take her book to sell it electronically. They wanted to keep 80% of those sales and give her 20% because they were the ones that put the book on the market. I taught her how to do it herself, and she kept 100% of the royalties instead of getting 20%. Now, when you're talking about getting into the big five, Penguin, Harlequin, Orbit Books, Tor, those ones, they will offer less royalties, but because they can reach a market of hundreds of thousands of readers, it's still a viable marketing approach for making money with your fiction. So, how traditional publishing works. Step one, write the book. This is a consistent thing that I've noticed with multiple editors and multiple agents that I've talked with over the years. I've been to over a dozen writing conventions, most of which were very centered on how to be successful in traditional publishing. One of the underlying things you always hear is if you're if you're just getting started, if you're a first-time writer and you're trying to break into the publishing world with the big five, they want to know your novel is already done. They do not want to sign a contract with someone who doesn't have an experience of writing fiction and then be constantly hassling you to try and get that last chapter written, to get that last part of the novel done so that they can get things moving. They want to know the novel is already done, and it's kind of their way of knowing A, that the manuscript is ready to be published, and B, that you're serious about a writing career. The next step, once you finish the novel, is finding a publisher, a place to get it out there. Approaching the big five is something that you can do yourself. through query letters, through sending a synopsis, through submitting to traditional publishers. A lot of people will suggest that you use an agent. An agent is someone that already has ties to publishing companies, and therefore when they're looking at other writers, they already know what some of these publishing companies are looking for. And then when they recognize, you can show them your book and they might say, hey, this is great, I've got an editor over at Harlequin and he would love this, let me go show them this book and we can get this moving for you. The catch with an agent is that they will usually want 10 to 15% royalties as a service for connecting you to these publishers. Now, whether or not that is worth the sacrifice, because that 10 to 15% of royalties is going to be for the life of your book. If you feel like you can't get into the publisher's doors without the agent, then it's worth it. There are some writers, though, that do it all themselves, and they work with publishers directly, figure it out, and they negotiate their own contracts, and they keep more of their royalties that way. But really, that's just up to you. That's just how you feel you best can get your work done. Once you've found a publisher, the next thing you're going to do is negotiate your contract. The publisher will send you a contract saying, okay, we would like to publish such and such copies of this book in these formats. We'll offer you X amount of money as an advance in order to compensate you for writing the book. And we want to produce it in these formats, therefore we need these copyrights. For those of you that haven't gotten into law very much, copyright is the legal ownership of an idea. If you're going to be getting into traditional publishing, it's good to know a little bit about copyright, because you need to be careful with the language of the contract. There are some things, for example, there's a non-compete clause that sometimes can sneak in there. The way a non-compete clause works is when you sell book A to the publisher, let's say it's an epic fantasy, you cannot sell any other epic fantasies to any other publishers for the life of that contract, unless you can sell another epic fantasy idea to the first publishing company. That really restricts the genres that you can write in, the type of projects you can handle. Some writers, they're just looking to get their one series going and they don't care that they get limited in what else they can write. For me, I write in a lot of different genres and I wouldn't want those kind of limitations, so you need to watch out for those non-compete clauses. I'll do another video talking more about copyright a little later. I highly recommend, though, you read the book called The Copyright Handbook. That goes into a lot more detail with copyright and the stuff that you need to be aware of if you're negotiating a contract. When you do get that contract from the publisher, it's very much worth your time to contact an intellectual property lawyer. Even just a couple $100 for him to go over the contract and tell you what it is you're signing off. Have him translate for you from legalese to English so that you know exactly what kind of promises you're making to the publisher before you sign on the dotted line. Because once that contract is signed, you are bound to it. And if they have anything in there limiting your creativity or your sales, you're going to be stuck with it for the life of the contract. So you do need to be aware of what you're signing and what you're agreeing to. But oftentimes publishers are willing to, they have more respect for you when you know copyright, because you're not just Joe Schmo that's willing to sign anything to get his book out there. You are an intelligent, well-informed writer that's looking to get the best deal they can. And publishers are willing to negotiate contracts. It's not just make or break. A lot of the times they will be willing to make some concessions based on what you need. So once you've got the contract signed, the publisher then takes the responsibility for making the book cover, writing the sales copy on the back of the book, the blurb, to pull the reader in. They also do all the formatting, so if your book's going into audio, paperback, electronic, they take care of all that formatting for you so that that's all taken care of. They have distributors that then contact the major bookstores like Barnes & Noble, Powell's Books, and tell the bookstores, hi, we have this new exciting novel. If you think it's something your readers would like, here you go. And then the bookstores are the ones that make the purchase and sell the book to the readers. Now, most standard contracts will give you about 6 to 10% royalties, usually leaning closer to 6. Once you're a more established author, you can get higher royalties for your works, but most standard contracts will do 6% royalties. That means that if for every $100 your book makes, you get 6 of it. Doesn't sound like much, but a lot of the best-selling authors out there make hundreds of thousands of sales, and that in turn means hundreds of thousands of dollars for you. It's important to note that the entire process, from the publisher finding your work, negotiating the contract, doing all of the book formatting, getting it published, getting it out to distributors, can take as long as 18 months to 2 years. So it is a good idea to have multiple writing projects going rather than just finishing the one book and waiting 2 years and not writing anything else. If you have multiple projects going, not only do you keep those creative juices flowing, but you also have the capacity to create multiple contracts with multiple companies as a way to bring in more money and more readers. Obviously, at the end of those 2 years, once the first book is out there and it's bringing in sales, if it brings in enough sales, the publisher will contact you about taking care of book 2. You may already have it written, you may just have an outline. Sometimes if you have book 2 already written, you want to be careful because the publisher might actually have some ideas for changes that need to happen in the next book because they already know what their readers are looking for and what they like. So sometimes having that second book already written might mean you have to go back and make some changes that you wouldn't have had to make if you were just starting from scratch to write the second book. But that's kind of up to you as a writer and what you feel more comfortable with. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this was helpful. This probably turned out to be a bit longer than I anticipated. But it's a good overview of what traditional publishing is like and what some of the steps are that you'll have to take. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to mention them below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. That's a great way to let me know that I'm on the right track, that I'm producing content you guys enjoy. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and I will talk to you later. Take care.